just wait for the Mayor to come in. Nō mai haere mai te kēnei hui. Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the Infrastructure and Environment Committee on the 13th of September 2023. Welcome to everybody who's watching us via live stream. I just ask that the councillors and attendees turn off their mobile phones so that we're not interrupted. And I believe we should get through the material within the time frame allowed. We'll just see how we go. I'd just like now to hand over to Councillor Maxwell, if he would please start with the karakia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. He ino I tātou, the opening karakia. Tūtawa mai I runga, tūtawa mai I raro, tūtawa mai I roto, tūtawa mai I waho, kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora kita katoa. Haumi e, hui e, tāi ki e. Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. We'll move on to the apologies. We do have Councillor Wang and Councillor Kai Fong attending via Zoom, and I've just had notification from Councillor Kiriopa that she may be able to come back after an urgent meeting, but at the moment she is an apology. So I'd just like to move that the apology from Councillor Kiriopa be accepted. Councillor Waru, Councillor O'Brien seconded. All those in favour please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 3 is declarations of interest. Is there any declarations of interest today? There appear to be none. Are there any urgent items not on the agenda? There appear to be none, so we'll move on. The first report today, on page 6 of your agenda, is a report on Te Whare Taunga Aotearoa Building Governance Group. The decision is required today. I'd ask for a mover and a seconder to receive the report that the Building Governance Group, the Te Whare Taunga Aotearoa Building Governance Group be received. Councillor Waru and Councillor Lee, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. And I'll hand over to Gina to overview her report.
Tēnā tātou. E mihana kia koutou e ngā mema o te kaunihira, tēnā tātou katoa, o tira kia koutou e mātakitaki ana.
Excuse me, Gina. Could you just move it a bit?
Sorry. Ngā mihi. I have provided a report already, and I will provide a brief overview, and then with the lead of the chair take questions. Essentially, as you recall, of course, at your August meeting, you confirmed your intention to proceed with the project, subject to a number of conditions. And one of those conditions was to negotiate a contract and ensure a project management approach that sufficiently de-risks the project and a progressive approach to construction. We've taken a number of steps since then to implement that decision, including we've held a number of technical workshops to define separable portions within the construction contract. Those workshops have included our project engineers, the designers, etc. And the purpose of that is to clearly define what will be in the first bundle of works, the second bundle of works, and so forth. We're still working through that process, and we'll be reporting back to you on that before a decision is requested to award the contract. But we've done considerable work on that so far. We have made a number of funding applications, both to the Rotorua Trust as well as to central government, and that's ticking along. And importantly, I've also carried out a review of our governance framework. So we have a project steering group that was established, I think 2019, so several years ago now. And they've been an invaluable group in terms of supporting us with our fundraising efforts, overseeing all of the work to get to the point that we're at today. However, as we move into the construction phase of the contract, we do need a stronger governance group to support around the process to the procurement process to identify and finalise the construction contract, as well as to ensure that that contractor is performing against the contract through the life of it. And one of the things that we've identified as a need for a group with much more experience in the complex construction projects. And so, and this is for your noting, I've outlined the establishment of a building governance group with direct experience of complex construction, particularly in the Rotorua district, the members of the BGG, myself as the executive sponsor, Thomas Colley as our GM Corporate Services and CFO, Ray Cook, Mike Romains and Will Smith. Ray and Mike are probably well known to you. I've included a biography of all three men in the paper and also provided Will's CV previously to the elected members. At this point though, it is a recommendation that a committee an observer on behalf of this committee also be appointed to the Building Governance Group. And I've talked a little bit about why that is, and in particular, it's important that the observer is able to convey back to you, the committee, on an ongoing basis how things are going, and is able to communicate to myself as the sponsor and to our Building Governance Group the priorities and the concerns of the committee. Now, it's not a replacement for the committee. This person is an observer, but it is a really helpful way to ensure that what we're doing is aligned with your collective expectations. It's important that whoever is appointed as the observer has a really thorough understanding of your priorities and your concerns and your broader work program, and also that they have good judgment as to what needs to be reported back to the full committee. So that's the key decision for today. I wanted to draw your attention to a few points. The first is that this Building Governance Group is only dealing with construction. They don't have a role in respect of the broader scope of work for this project, including fundraising, stakeholder engagement, the exhibition design. That's not within their scope. They're just looking at the construction around the building itself, and that's why that expertise has been brought in. Secondly, I just wanted to be clear that this is one group within an overall framework. The overall governance responsibility still sits with this committee, and you, under your terms of reference, have quite clear delegations from Council around your responsibility for infrastructure projects for the Council. Finally, the Building Governance Group is operational. They provide expert technical advice to our team. They can make recommendations, but ultimately we will be continuing to come back to this committee for the decision making. And therefore, unless there are any questions, the recommendation is that you do appoint an observer on behalf of the committee. Kia ora.
Thank you, Gina, for your report. And I'll just move around to see if there's any questions from the councillors. Councillor
Not
Warren?
a question, but happy to move in support.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, thank you for your report, Gina. Can I ask, so the PSG, the current PSG continues, how will they work alongside, or sorry, who takes the lead? Is there any conflict there?
I don't think so. I have signalled to the existing PSG that this decision is coming and the purpose of the Building Governance Group, so they've been aware. I haven't received any direct feedback from them on that. I think, look, overall they have been champions for the project. I'm sure that, and in addition, it's very clear that the committee's entitled to make the decisions it needs to give you the confidence in the project, but also to ensure that we maintain our momentum. So that they absolutely would, defer to the council and the committee's decision making in that regard. In terms of the role of the two, I am quite clearly separating out any construction work, so that would no longer sit under the existing project steering group. I think that's appropriate when you look at the level of expertise that's in the proposed group, particularly around construction. The existing group, the project steering group, are really important in terms of the fundraising efforts we've made, the exhibition development. They've been very supportive as champions for the project, but in terms of the construction experience, it's not sitting at that table. So I did consider bringing construction people into that table, but to me that's just muddying the roles and responsibilities, and what I'm looking for is a group with direct experience of construction who can support my team around giving us advice, that can give you confidence around our management of that part of the project, and I see them as being quite compatible and with different sets of skills.
Thank you for your response. So could I ask, so what's actual So why not wind up the PSG just so, as you say, so that we have a clear during the building time, and then perhaps closer to construction being completed, maybe have a look at reinvigorating a separate committee again who could take this project forward. Thank you.
The PSG, I believe, still have a really important role in terms of, particularly around fundraising. They've been really helpful in terms of supporting, guiding and supporting applications out in the community as well. Our fundraising effort is a huge work program. It is going to have to continue for some time yet. Even with positive decisions from central government and the Rotorua Trust, there's still a significant amount of fundraising needed. And so having their support and their engagement is going to continue to be important. I think the other thing is around the exhibition development. So while there's the building itself, but then you can't just reinstall exhibitions into the space. For a number of reasons. One is just it is an opportunity to refresh the flow of the exhibition and the stories that we tell, and that's appropriate given the age of the exhibitions that we had. Secondly, many of the mounts and display cases had to be destroyed in order to remove the taonga, so all of that work needs to be done again. The work around exhibition development is identifying not just which taonga or which artefact sits where, but the flow of the stories through the building, which is all about the visitor experience. We have on the PSG representatives from the Centennial Trust, who are not only fundraisers for the building, but also fundraisers for the collection, and have a number of items that they loan to the museum. We also have representatives from the Pukenga Koike, and another important group in terms of the stories of the taonga and how we share those in the reopened building. We also have Te Taru White, who was appointed as a Te Tatau representative, but importantly, he's a former kaihautu of Te Papa, so massive experience in the sector. I think retaining that experience to support us in the exhibition development as well as the fundraising is an appropriate move.
Yes.
Sorry, final question, Gina, thank you. So could I ask though, so when we talk about exhibition, but haven't we got most of that funding supported through Regional Council? And forgive me, but also yourself and Mr. Williams have previously given spoken statements to us that you guys were possibly even looking at, depending on what the final plan of the museum looks like, that there was room for minimising some of the costs around the exhibition. So are we, when you say we need fundraising
for the building project,
right,
rather that's the primary focus at the moment. Yes, we are doing still some fundraising around exhibition, but the real drive at this stage of the project is around building up the full budget to complete the building project. That is the focus. So in terms of the PSG, having their support to continue to fundraise for the strengthening project, the building project, as well as the support they can provide around the exhibition development. So those are ones across everything, fundraising, but the exhibition is just about what's actually the fit out within the rooms.
Okay, thank you for your answers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Mayor Tapsell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I have had some discussions with staff around the project steering group in the past, and my concern that we are doubling up on governance. I think that we need to just simplify the process. We've been really clear about what the focus should be on what's important, and that's ensuring that we have a process to manage the contract and we are de-risking it. So while I am very appreciative of the work that has, and the time that has been spent from the project steering group in terms of reviewing information, at the end of the day, for transparency, that information should be coming to the committee table, the Committee of Infrastructure and Environment, so that our public, our community, can see the issues as they arise or also get the updates. Now, I understand that the project steering group often would receive updates, but I also want to highlight that within that group is a makeup of people that are already representing other groups. So when we look at the museum and sort of the governance or the bureaucracies behind it, in terms of either advisors or sort of like expert opinion people. We have the project steering group, but we also have the Pukinga Koike Kaumatua group, who obviously make up elders from across Te Aroa, which is very important to have. We also have the Museum Centennial Trust group, and now they have been integral in fundraising as well. So you can see where if you already have expert advisors from the construction perspective, from our Te Aroa perspective, and then also the Centennial Trust, who were the ones, by the way, who fundraised for the South Wing successfully, have been very integral in getting that funding. I would like to see this process simplified in future. So I am very supportive of the proposal and the decision that is before us. However, what I would like to recommend is, as I've requested already, that we really take a look at this and we save people time. We make this an efficient and simple process, and in the meantime, the number one focus should be on the construction and getting the doors open of the building.
Thank you, Mayor Tapsell. Was there any other question you wanted to put to Gina, or no? Or Gina might like to reply to any of that?
Very sorry, no.
I think particularly in terms of the reporting framework, and I think that's something that I've identified as well, is that there has been a reliance on reporting primarily through the PSG. Now, under the previous council, we had the mayor and a councillor observer sitting on the PSG, and so there was a degree of governance involvement, but there wasn't regular reporting that potentially at the level that this committee is seeking. And so one of the things that Una and I have been talking about is the need for regular project reporting, so that we're not just coming to you when we need a decision around a change to the project or something new, but that there's just regular, whether that be quarterly or 2 monthly, whatever the right rhythm might be, but just so that you are getting more sort of project updates. And I think we can certainly strengthen that, so that this committee is getting the information it needs and is feeling properly informed as the project proceeds. I think it should be happening anyway, but it's especially important as we get into the construction phase.
Thank you, Gina, and that reporting will be most welcome to the committee, I'm sure. And there's obviously still some more work to go ahead with when we are moving into.
Yes, I've taken a note.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Gina. I'm supportive of the recommendation here, but can you just again refresh my memory? Who are the people that you mentioned that are on this project group?
There's Ray Cook, who a long-standing developer in Rotorua. I've listed some of the projects, just some of the projects that he's been involved in, but some of the more recent ones that people will be familiar with are St John Ambulance, the Ebbets car dealership that recently opened, the GHA building, I think the Ibis and Novotel, both in Rotorua and in other parts of the country. He's a former board member of the Rotorua Tourism Advisory Board and a former director for the airport.
Yeah, just having trouble hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
After Ray?
Mike Romains, who established Concrete Structures New Zealand. That's a leading infrastructure and concrete and civil engineering company. They operate across 3 sites, one of which is in Rotorua. And finally, Will Smith. I have circulated his CV to the councillors, but for the public and just for the summary in terms of today, he has over 30 years' experience in complex real estate development, both here and in the US, although he's local. He was most recently, he was a former chief executive of the Wairaka Land Co, which led strategy, master planning for a new urban suburb of more than 3,000 homes. So his experience is certainly around management of complex projects, management of the multiple consultants and contractors that are involved in major projects, ensuring the performance through the lifetime of the construction contract as well.
Thank you, Gina. That answered your question. Thank you. And as with one of the previous meetings, there was often specialists brought in to give advice. We had the QS risk management people again advising that group. So there's obviously there's other expertise to draw upon. Is there any other questions? If there isn't, we will move on and see if Councillor Waru has signalled that he would like to move that motion, and Councillor Patterson has seconded it. I'll invite a round of discussion. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I'm just saying that, fully supportive of you, Madam Chair, being appointed to this group. I just want to make a point, I do understand there's a lot of these group PSG and now this building group and everything, but this is these people have specific skills, very, what would you call it, that are needed in this type of project. I have faith that they will come up with the goods, and in particular in the area of the building and construction. But not to say that the PSG has, they just have they have mana as well in what they're doing and what they've done so far. So I think it could be, just to go on some of the comments that were made around putting too many groups together. But I think for this project it's required. But as we get to the end of it, which we will soon, hopefully, I envisage that we'd probably have to relook at that again, because we won't require the building thing again. It'll be some other group that'll be, more thinking towards exhibitions and things like that. So other than that, Karen is a very hard-working councillor, and she will always give us the truth around what's going on there from her perspective, and good for us to know as councillors that we have that there. And also Gina and I think Thomas was mentioned as well. So I think we've got good coverage there, and we'll go well, and I look forward to the progress. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor Waru, for your endorsement. Me Tapsell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you, and I just wholeheartedly also do endorse you as being the committee observer, obviously as our chairperson of the Infrastructure and Environment Committee. However, you work very hard, and as we saw earlier in the previous committee meeting, we can't get anything past you. You take down and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and I think that is the level of rigour that we do need to de-risk this project too, so we look forward to that. Can I also just say that in terms of the rest of the governance group structures, of which I've mentioned in the question time, the key difference here is that we're no longer dreaming about opening the museum, we're actually doing it. And we need to make sure that we're setting up in all areas of decision making efficient processes that also bring our community along that journey as well, which is where my desire is to, instead of many of the updates being given in various multiple different groups, I would love to see, where possible, I understand some information may be commercially sensitive, but where possible that we can be transparent on the updates for our community, because it will be a very exciting next 2-3 years as we undertake this significant infrastructure project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tapsell. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the community can't help but have confidence in this building governance group. The calibre of the people on it, including your good self, should give the community a great deal of comfort. That I'd like to mention, the likes of Ray Cook, Mike Romains, and Will Smith. I mean, to have those guys as external members of this committee are just fantastic, and yes, must warm the cockles of the heart of those of us who are looking forward to seeing that museum open.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Yes, Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mentioned it earlier. I'm supportive of the recommendation, you being on there, as well as that's why I asked about the group. I think the calibre of the group too, with the applications coming from them. Some of us are on various other committees and trusts that can be applied to, and whereas we can say it's coming from a group of the committee, of the community, and we won't have Councillor Lee saying we've got a conflict of interest or something in the future. So more than happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I would like to, believe it or not, echo the comments of Councillor Lee. I totally agree. Having Mike Remains and Ray Cook, as well as yourself, and I have yet to meet Will Smith, but he's very familiar for some reason. That gives me, as a person who is very nervous about this project from the outset and the massive commitment we're making of our ratepayers' dollars, I think those people give a lot more surety to where we're heading, and with yourself as oversight, I think we can be comfortable moving forward and really look forward to seeing the day that it's finished.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Are there any other points of discussion? If that's the case, then I'd actually like to put the motion to the vote that the committee notes the establishment of the Building Governance Group and approves the appointment of Councillor Karen Barker as the committee observer. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. And thank you for your support and endorsement. I appreciate that. I look forward to working with the project governance team. And the next, another job, thank you, which I look forward to. It's going to be very interesting. The next item is actually an item that I would advise we would like to carry out in public excluded. The item is the Te Wharetaonga Aotearoa procurement process, and the reasons that we would like to move into public excluded is to enable commercial or industrial negotiations and for commercial sensitivity. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the committee to move into public excluded? Councillor Waru and Councillor Lee. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. I'll just allow time for the live stream to be turned off.